What's going on, everybody? American Football Network here today, and today we're bringing you our Michigan preview prediction video. But before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Help me hit that 1,000 subscribers by the end of August. We are 60 away. I appreciate all the support we have gotten. Help us hit that goal. Check out our shop. Make sure you guys go check that out. I'll leave you the card with the link right here. Link can also be found in the description and on our channel page. Go to our channel page and click the store section, and you can find that there. But I appreciate all of the support we've gotten through our shop. I really appreciate you guys that have been getting our merch. So um, definitely keep checking that out. But let's go ahead and jump into today's video. So Michigan last year went 13-1, lost to TCU in the college football playoff semifinal Fiesta Bowl. Another good season for Harbaugh making the playoff. Only problem is another season where they lose in the semifinals. Last year to the champion, this year to the team that got killed by the champion. But they do beat Ohio State again, and this year they beat them on the road at Ohio State 45-23. They beat them again. Um, Second year in a row now. They returned Cornelius Johnson at receiver. They returned their right guard and left guard. They returned J.J. McCarthy. They also returned the left guard, Carson Barnhart. They returned J.J. McCarthy at quarterback, who may be the second best quarterback in the country behind Caleb Williams. I don't think he necessarily is. I'd have to sit down and really look through all of it. I think Drake May is probably number two. But McCarthy, definitely a top five quarterback in the country. And then you add in Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, the best running back duo in the country. Blake Corum, a top 7 running back in the country. I would assume he's going to be back to what he was last year, where he ran for 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns. The defense returned 7 starters. So, it's still a very talented Michigan team, despite some of the losses that they have. They're going to be a very good team. And they have a pretty favorable schedule, especially early on before they get some tough games. So let's go ahead and dive into the schedule. So week 1, they get East Carolina at home. That's kind of my second team, so behind Clemson. So I hate to see East Carolina go into Michigan to get killed, but that is going to be a win for Michigan, and they're going to blow the doors off of East Carolina, unfortunately. Maybe we see something where it's early in the season, week 1, where East Carolina puts up a little bit of a fight for a quarter or two, but East Carolina loses so much. I highly doubt it. I think Michigan wins this game by 40 plus points, kind of like they did with Colorado State last year, 51-7. I expect the same against East Carolina. Then week 2, they get UNLV. I think this is an easy game as well. I think obviously Michigan is much more talented than UNLV. They will absolutely kill them. I see this game. I mean, kind of a similar schedule, in my opinion, to what they started out with last year with Colorado State, Hawaii, Connecticut. Because in week 3, they get Bowling Green. I have this game as a win, obviously. 3 easy games to start out the year, and then you get your first Big Ten game, and it's kind of a lower Big Ten team. Last year it was Maryland. And we know how Maryland finished, but they usually start out pretty good. So I would say that wasn't a terrible game, as they went 8-5 last year, 7-5 in the regular season. But this year you get Rutgers week 4. I have this game as a win. Rutgers is much worse than this Maryland team last year. And Michigan's going to kill Rutgers this year. They beat them last year on the road 52-17. I see something similar happening again this year. I just don't think Rutgers has what it takes offensively or defensively to compete in any aspect of the game with this Michigan team. I think Michigan is just too overpowering in every aspect of the game. I think that they will kill them. Then they go on the road to Nebraska. Last year they beat Nebraska 34-3 at home. I see this game finishing similar to that. I could see 31-17. 31-20, something like that. I think that's about how much Michigan will win by. I do think Nebraska got it right hiring Matt Rule, but we know how Matt Rule teams play in his first year. Not typically the best. And he just hasn't had time to get a lot of his guys in there, a lot of his talented guys in there that he's going to recruit to Nebraska. He hasn't had time to get them in yet. So I do think that it will take Nebraska a few years to get to where they're at, and I don't think to where they want to be at, and I don't think Michigan will have any problem with Nebraska whatsoever. Then they go on the road to Minnesota. I have this game as a win. Minnesota loses the quarterback, they lose running back, they lose the the last guy standing for the most part off of that very good offensive line from a few years ago, and John Michael Schmitz. Minnesota's just kind of lost all the pieces that they had a few years ago whenever they were a top 15 team. And to me, Muhammad Ibrahim is the biggest at running back. He's the biggest piece missing. He single-handedly was about to carry them to a win against Ohio State week 1 2 years ago until he tore his Achilles and went out for the rest of the season. And he wasn't ever really the same after that, but he was still a very good running back. And it's a position that Minnesota doesn't really have a guy behind him that can replace him as of right now. So I think Minnesota is a vulnerable team. I think Michigan will definitely take advantage of that and absolutely blow them out. Then they get Indiana. By the way, they did not play Minnesota last year. Okay, I was looking at that. Then they get Indiana at home, a team that they beat on the road last year, 31-10. I see a similar outcome in that one, 34-7, 38-10, something like that is about how I think Michigan will beat Indiana. Indiana, again, another team like Minnesota's lost so much from the great team they were a few years ago. They've lost kind of all of that. They're in a bad spot. Tom Allen in a bad spot with Indiana. And I think Michigan is definitely the team to take advantage of that and overpower them and get the win. Then they get Purdue at home. I have this game as a win. I think Purdue is in a little bit of a tough spot. You lose your head coach. You lose your quarterback. You lose your best you lose some of your best defensive players within the last 2 years. You've lost them. You lose your quarterback, your main quarterback in Aiden O'Connell. Was it last year that he left or the year before? How can I not remember when Aiden O'Connell left Purdue? And you lose a bunch of other guys. You're a team that's struggling. I get that you bring in Hudson Card, to be there. He's solid. Graham Harrell at offensive coordinator is solid, but you really lack a lot of the position players to really make up for to really make up for the talent that you've lost in recent years, and you still don't have the skill players to even come close to matching up with this Michigan team. Michigan is a team who can easily drop 50 points on this Purdue team who they played in the Big Ten championship last year and beat 43-22. I think they beat them by even more than that this year, to be honest, whenever they play them. And I don't see Purdue at all making it to the Big Ten championship again. Then they go on the road to Penn State. The first real game that I could see Michigan losing is at Penn State, but I just still don't think that they will. I think Penn State is worse in the head coaching department. I think Harbaugh is a better head coach than James Franklin, and I think that is pretty unarguable. 3 years ago, I think I would have said Franklin, but with what Harbaugh's done recently, I think he's finally got over a lot of and replaced a lot of those question marks we had about him. I think he is a good head coach and has proven that he can, 1, beat Ohio State, 2, get to the playoff, and 3, just win big games. I know he hasn't won a semifinal game, but Franklin's only made it, one time and got killed? If I'm trying to think, did he even make it one time? I'm trying to think. I don't even think they've made it. I don't think that they ever made it into the college football playoff. Yeah, I don't think they did. This could be their year to do it. If they haven't, gosh, that's going to kill me. Y'all let me know in the comments if Penn State has ever made it to the college football playoff, because I'm completely blanking on that right now. But nonetheless, he didn't win a game in it. Harbaugh's made it the last 2 years. I know he hasn't won a semifinal game and made a national championship game, but he still made it the last 2 years. And he's, Georgia obviously stomped them, but they put up a very good game against TCU. There were a few questionable calls in that one that didn't go Michigan's way for sure. That's not why they lost the game, but it definitely hurt their momentum and didn't help their chances whatsoever. And then I just think that Michigan has too much offensive talent and experienced talent. This is a huge game, and I like the experience. J.J. McCarthy Jr., Blake Corum Sr., those are their two big guys on offense. You look at Penn State, their guys, Drew Aller and Nicholas Singleton, both sophomores. So this is not a team that is as experienced at all as this Michigan team is in a big game. And so I think Michigan will get the win in that game. Then they go on the road to Maryland, a team they beat by 7 last year, 34-27 in week 4. If this was in week 4, I think it would be a closer game. I would still have Michigan winning, but I think it'd be a closer game. But given that this game is in week 11, or not week 11, but the 11th game of the season, I think it's pretty safe to say that Michigan will win. We know how Maryland does. They start out the year hot, end it on a terrible streak. And I see that happening again. History repeats itself. It has with Maryland over and over and over. You look at last year, they win 4 of their first 5. Then they win 4 games the rest of the season. They go 4 out of the next 8. Yeah, so they go 4-4 after that. So not very good, including losing 3 straight. So, not a very good stretch there. The year before was even worse at the end of the season. But Mike Locksley has done a solid job at Maryland. He's built something pretty good, but it's just not enough to compete with the juggernaut of Michigan at the moment. I think that, Michigan wins this game by 2+ touchdowns. And, I think it'll be a pretty easy game for Michigan fans' nerves on November 18th. But then they get Ohio State, the big game to close out the season. I have this game as a win for Michigan. Michigan is getting this game back at home. Ryan Day needs this game. Michigan is not going to let him have it. They're, in my opinion, just slightly the better team, especially coming into the season. I think, obviously, Ohio State has the best wide receiver room in the country, but I feel like with a young quarterback in Cal McCord, that is not very, very good. It's either going to be Kyle McCord, who's a junior but has had limited play time. He only attempted 20 passes all season last year. And then you look at Devin Brown, the backup, the sophomore. So neither one of them have really done a whole lot. But between Marvin Harrison and Emeka Egbuka and Julian Fleming, those guys can definitely cause some problems, as well as Travion Henderson and Mayan Williams at running back. So, Ohio State has some weapons, but I feel like in this situation, the young quarterback is going to get rattled, especially with this game being at Michigan. And I think that's when the Wolverines will rise, take advantage, and get the win over the Buckeyes of Ohio State for the 3rd straight year in a row. But that wraps up today's video. I have Michigan going 12-0 overall, 9-0 in the Big Ten, and I have them as Big Ten champs, number 2 seed in the college football playoff. So another great year for Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines. But I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Get to 1,000 by the end of August. I appreciate all the support, and I'll see you guys next time.